Club with your host, Steve Pulaski.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to an episode of Sleepless with Steve without Steve. Unfortunately, Steve is getting his reindeer ready to deliver all the good movies around the world to the children in need of good cinema. And so that they can, witness great movies like, I don't know, he has probably two of them I've never heard of in my entire life, and nobody's ever heard of except for him. But yeah, he's unfortunately not with us here tonight, so Dom and I are hosting the holiday special. We have no new movie to review because everybody wanted to clear away because there's a big movie coming out this Friday. If you haven't heard, it's been taking about 13 years for it to come out. Avatar: The Way of Water is coming out this Friday, thus leaving this whole week, or last weekend I should say, open to just movies getting in their last few box office numbers before Avatar comes in and just takes it all for the rest of the year. We will be reviewing that in 2 weeks after the Christmas break. But until then, we're just going to go over and basically give our best and worst Christmas movies. We're not saying, well, at least I'm not saying these are the best or worst Christmas movies. These are the ones I just like the most, and these are the ones I like the least. One of them I despise, but, we'll get to that when it comes around. But with me tonight, while Steve's not here, we do have Dominic. Dominic, how are you doing, my good man?
I'm doing well. This is the third Sleepless with Steve holiday special, and it sucks already. They don't even have the main character anymore. This is the worst of the trilogy.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
My God.
Every holiday theme special we do. Halloween. We did a Halloween one with horror movies. We did a Christmas one now.
Oh, that's right.
And Steve wasn't there for that one either.
They can't afford Steve for the holiday stuff, so they bring in the minor characters.
Yeah, they do. They bring in the supporting cast to
Supporting
carry out
cast.
the special. They're like, okay, we can't keep Chris Pratt on set too long, so let's just bring in singing Dave Bautista and the actress that plays Mantis.
I haven't seen the new one. Is it the
holiday special
Guardians holiday one? Is it good?
It's very good. I enjoyed it. If you like James Gunn, you'll very much enjoy it. I thought it was very sweet. I thought it actually had some really good moments with the character of Mantis, who I thought was always interesting and kind of cool, especially in Infinity War, where she literally freezes Thanos. I'm like, man, this character should get some more screen time. She's literally the main character of the special, and I actually thought it was really good.
Nice.
Man. But how's things been with you lately?
Busy. This is a very busy time at work. I don't like to say where I work, but more so just the fact that it is events based, and this December has been one of the busiest on record in my 5 to 6 years of working there.
Yeah.
Simply because everything was online during the pandemic, which is good. That was a good thing to do. But we kept it online because we still keep that option open, which is still good. I'm not complaining. It's just interesting how it's different and how it's more involved with providing for that. So this is the way of the future, and until we get to a point where people don't like that anymore, but no, more people show up online. There's still a good amount that shows up in person, but it's 2 to 1.
Oh,
and it's actually really impressive. And so, it's working out. So that streaming, that investment in good AV equipment is a good one if you can afford it. So
yeah, there's I just noticed my mic levels were low, just built into my microphone, so I just adjusted that.
Yeah.
So sorry to viewers who had it turned up for me when I was giving that whole big speech at the beginning. But yeah, man, I totally get you on that. I've been seeing a lot more jobs AV related more than ever now, ever since the pandemic ended. Well, not even just ended, but ever since 2020 came to a close and people realized how important that kind of stuff is for their businesses or organizations. But I'm kind of in the same boat with you, nearing the end of where I'm currently working at. We got a bunch of holiday events and everything. Not as busy as our summer season, but it's about as busy.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, if Dom is good to go, we can just get right into it and get into our
go
best
for it. Is it which one? Who's going first? You or me?
I'll start.
Sure.
I'll start the flow of things and whatnot, and then we'll switch over to you. So how this is gonna work, everybody, is that I will give my number 3 best or favorite, whatever you want to call it, Christmas movie or a movie just to watch around the holiday season. Dom asked me, like what are the like qualifications for this? I'm like, look, man, if you could find any sort of way that Christmas fits into a movie, that's fine by me. I don't care if it's Lethal Weapon. I don't care if it's Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. As long as it could be Iron Man 3. As long as it like takes place during the holiday, that's all that matters. Like, I don't care. It could be as cruel like as something like Krampus or Bad Santa. I really honestly don't care.
Just some connection, and if I can justify it.
Yeah, and the reason why I wanted to do
There's only one. There's only one actually,
there's only one. Okay.
and I don't think you're gonna. I don't think we're gonna disagree at all. So go for it.
Okay. Well, I do my number one pick. It's kind of hinting it down the line and everything, but it does deal with like people.
Number one or number three?
I'm just saying like, when we get there, because you said
okay.
we probably won't
Right,
disagree
right.
about it. But the number one pick, this is just a little bit of a hint. You'll probably know what it is just by saying this.
Hmm.
For years, this movie has been debated if it's a Christmas movie or not. But we'll get to that when the
Sure.
time comes. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, let's get right into it. Here is my best and worst of Christmas or holiday movies, depending on how you want to look at this. And at number 3, I have A Very Harold and Kumar Christmas.
I forgot about that.
I absolutely love Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. I think it's one of the best stoner comedies ever made. It's just so out there. It's very early 2000s comedy. I think it's so good with what it does. And I thought for the longest time, I was like, man, they should make a sequel to these guys because like this is like amazing. And then Guantanamo Bay came out, and I remember as a kid, I couldn't go see it in theaters. I was like, I have to wait for it to come to Blockbuster, and I couldn't wait for it to come to Blockbuster. And the day I rented it, I literally went home, I watched it, and the movie ended, and I remember just turning around, looking at my dad, going, "Well, that fucking sucked." And I was like, this franchise is dead. But then around 2011, we were blessed with one last outing with the pairing, with the Christmas special that they did, and it's a fun time, man. It is very much like what I liked about that first movie, and it's them basically just in skit scenarios, going from skit to skit to skit, and if it doesn't stick, they're just moving on to the next thing. That's the best thing about this movie. I mean, the pacing of it is on point. I mean, it's going from one thing to the next. Before you know it, if a whole bit's not working out, it's okay. Within 5 to 10 minutes, we're gonna be at the next scene. And that's what I loved about the first Harold and Kumar. That's the one thing Guantanamo Bay just didn't do a good job with, is that they just stuck around on scenes for so long, or jokes that kept repeating themselves over and over again. You even get what I thought, he's been in all 3 of these movies, and despite dying in the second movie, Neil Patrick Harris for me steals the show, where he comes and does a whole musical number with them as well. And then, of course, this movie came out, speaking of Avatar, this movie came out after Avatar. So everybody was trying to do 3D, except Harold and Kumar did it in their very 3D way, where they laid in stupid scenes like Kumar punching a pope and his tooth is flying out towards the screen and stuff like that.
It's so obvious. It's so obvious when a movie is trying to do 3D in that very obvious gimmicky way. It's so good.
Yes, and it's just like stuff like that. It's why it's my one of my favorites to pop on during the holiday season. Unfortunately, I can't watch it in 3D because I don't have a 3D TV, because I think 3D is stupid. Other than Avatar, which is the only thing I've ever seen in 3D that I thought was legitimately good. Oh, and How to Train Your Dragon. How to Train Your Dragon had good 3D. I'll give them that. But yeah, it's definitely just a comedy I love to watch. I talked about this last week during Violent Night's review, how I do like it when we get these holiday movies that are a bit more cynical, dark-sided humor, raunchy. I like when that happens because I think it's just a good combatant to the typical, a Christmas movie. I mean, not a Christmas movie, a Christmas story, stuff like that. Which, don't get me wrong, at the end of the day, I love watching A Christmas Story. I love watching Elf and all the other classics. It's a Wonderful Life. But from time to time, it's good to have something like this just to keep it as raunchy as possible.
Can you believe that? I don't know if you have the poster up with Neil Patrick Harris in the middle or something.
I do.
But of those 3 dudes, can you guess which one? Could you guess which one worked for the Obama administration?
I know who it is, but for the audience, if you don't know, I'm gonna give you 2 seconds to guess of these 3 gentlemen. The answer is the actor who plays Kumar. I forgot the actor's name. Dom, do you know it?
Cal Penn.
Cal Penn, thank you. Yeah. I haven't seen him in anything recently.
And he took a break from the Obama job, from the White House job, to film this
He
movie.
did, yeah. That's right. This did come out during his administration, which I thought was funny to find. That's actually how I found out he was part of that administration.
Oh,
Because I was just like, wait, what do you mean he took a break from his job? Like, I was watching interviews, and then, like, I found out, I'm like, wait, Kumar's part of the Obama administration? Like, that was the coolest
I,
thing I ever
I
found out about
I
anything.
imagine just in my head, just like him going up to like, hey Barack, real quick, can I go film this movie? Because that's how communications work when you're working in the White House. Is just
uh,
go up to the president
hey,
and just
man,
be like,
look.
hey, yo, Barack.
I gotta go make this movie that promotes, like, smoking weed and doing drugs and all this stuff for the holiday season.
And
Can you...
Obama's like, go for it. Like, yeah, hell yeah,
Yeah, all right. I'll see you when you get back.
because it's Obama.
I can't. I'm trying to see if he's done anything else since then. At least anything really big. Oh, he's in
Oh, what, Cal
Smile.
Penn?
Yeah, he's in Smile. That's
Cal Penn.
right.
Oh, he was in Designated Survivor, and he played the White House.
That's right. He's in like all these
The
in that
White
whole
House press
show.
secretary.
Oh my god, man. All right, I gotta give credit where credit's due. He has been acting. Then I thought like he took like a long break even after this movie because he was so busy and everything. But no, he's been
No,
in
he's
some
been doing
stuff.
stuff.
Yeah. All right, Dom. Let's head over to you.
He's
You're.
go
Oh,
he's gonna
sorry.
be in the Santa Clauses, by the way, the Tim Allen, the latest Tim Allen saga.
Oh,
But in
okay.
any case, yes.
You're right. I did see the
My
trailer for
number
that. Yeah.
three best, on my top three for Christmas movie traditions is The Godfather. I have parts one and two, but honestly, more part one because occasionally it's going to be two. And honestly, three. For the record, there's always this like, how's your stance on Godfather Part Three? I think Godfather Part Three is easily the worst of the trilogy, but it's still a really good movie in my opinion. But we can debate that. Whoever. But yeah, dude, I keep forgetting how much Christmas is in Godfather Part One in like the first quarter of the movie, and it's a long movie.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, dude. He's like, these are all stills from the. I think the black and white one, is I think Francis. It's a behind the scenes photo.
With, yeah,
I
I
think
can
that's
see
Francis Ford
Francis right
Coppola.
there in the hat and
Yeah,
everything.
but yeah, if you only saw these three stills, you'd think it'd be a family movie. But which, hey,
I know,
it
you
is
see
a
Al
family
Pacino
movie.
walking in here with those presents, and it's just like, oh,
Yeah,
look at him.
it's a very family movie. This is a very family movie, Godfather. But yeah, dude, between Christmas and actually more so Father's Day, of course.
Yeah.
Father's Day, my dad and I watch this movie, but every now and then it's just a tradition during the holiday seasons to watch some bit of Godfather, either one or two, just because it's such a good movie. And I once read a YouTube comment for one of the clips because I like watching clips of the movies, even though I have access to the movie itself. I like watching clips, and it's like the reason why Godfather works for everyone because it's not necessarily at the heart of it. It's not necessarily a gangster film. It's not necessarily a political film or like a mafia film or gun film or whatever. At the heart of it, it is actually the family.
Yeah, it is.
And everyone can relate to that. Maybe you can't relate to the. I was gonna say Gabagool, but that's Sopranos. Maybe you can't relate to all the the Italian references or New York or whatever, but you can relate to your brothers being dicks, or I'm an only child, but I can relate to tension with your dad,
Yep.
your kids, this and that, and that is why Godfather is so great, which is a very hot take, I know, but yeah, dude, Godfather is a easy Christmas tradition. At some point in December, it'll pop on. Maybe not the whole thing, but at some part of it.
I think you bring up such a great point to why I think that film has always been more iconic and resonated with people more than any Scorsese mob film. Because that's one thing that Scorsese's never really had in his mob films too much.
That's true.
Is
Yeah.
the family aspect to it. It's always the the worst of the worst when it comes to these gangsters and all the stuff they did and like the highs and lows of this gangster's career.
Yeah, Goodfellas,
The
not
Irishman.
the boxer. Irishman, he doesn't have a family there. He's just on his own. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very much he
I mean, he does have a family, but it's
Yeah.
kind of not as emphasized.
Scorsese is always focusing on the highs and lows of being in this like fame, like of not even fame, but just like this rich lifestyle of a gangster or whatever, or with Raging Bull.
It's Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
It's the Wolf of Wall Street template,
Yeah.
which is in itself copying of Goodfellas template.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, you bring up the point of like why I think like this movie has always resonated with people. Do you have anything else you want to add on to that?
No, dude. Anything else, and I'll go into a Godfather rabbit hole.
All right, well, moving on now to the worst. This isn't necessarily, I think, a terrible movie. This is more of like, all right, like if I had to pick one to be on here, like I really don't like watching this movie. I used to own this movie on my PlayStation Portable, and like I remember as a kid just watching it, just kind of be like, why am I watching this? I know Steve, and if Steve was here, he would be so happy I put this on the list. My number three is Christmas with the Cranks. And now look,
Huh.
I know this movie has actually had a resurgence lately, and people have actually turned around on it. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I,
Really?
I honestly don't understand why. This movie, when we get to my number two pick, I'll even go a little bit further about this movie. But this movie is trying to be, I think, ever since oh my god, I can't say it, otherwise I'll ruin the list later. But there was a movie that came out that I feel like it's been trying to, like, movies have been trying to emulate that with the holiday season. Deck the Halls, for instance, is one of them with Danny DeVito and Matthew Broderick, where it's like, oh, you take this jolly, like, time of the year and everybody's at each other's throats. But like Christmas with the Cranks really takes that aspect of, like, neighbors being on each other's nerves or being all like, self-loathing and everything, and cranks it up a bit too high for a Christmas movie, man. Like, there is nobody likable in this movie. Tim Allen and Jamie Lee Curtis, both of them are just very unlikable people. The minute their daughter moves out and goes away to college, they're immediately like, fuck Christmas. We're going to use the F word more than once, I guess, now. We're not doing this anymore. We're leaving the neighborhood. We're going on a cruise and everything. And they are just so mean spirited to their neighbors, to other family members and stuff. And the worst part is like the neighbors, they kind of deserve it because they're also a bunch of dicks. The neighborhood's all about like this conformity of you have to celebrate Christmas, you have to put up lights. If you don't do this, you're ruining the neighborhood and all this stuff. And it's led by Dan Aykroyd, which to me is my least favorite performance of Dan Aykroyd as well. It's like all three of your like big leads in this movie are probably my least performances they've ever done. It is just boring too. It's not funny, and it just hits the beats that you see coming from time and time again with these Christmas movies. When the daughter all of a sudden is coming home for Christmas, she was gonna stay away at college because she misses the family, and you got Tim Allen being like, "Why the hell is she coming home for Christmas? She just ruined everything," and all this stuff, and then he has to like go through the lessons of Christmas and why it's important to be around family. But that's not until like halfway through the movie, and it's like, dude, we like if the movie would have maybe ended the first act here, sure. But now we're getting to like near the climax, and now we're starting the whole lesson of what Christmas is. Get the hell out of here. Is there anything redeemable about the movie? It's short, and there is one funny gag I think that involves like Botox with Tim Allen that I thought was kind of funny even as a kid. That today I still get a chuckle out of. Again, it's not terrible. I know a lot of people have come around on this movie and are ending up loving it. But for me, it's one that if I see it on TBS or anything, I will not click on it and avoid it like hell.
I don't know if Deck the Halls with Danny DeVito and Matthew Broderick is going to be on your list. It's not going to be on mine. But that movie, at least that movie had one funny scene where their kids, their daughters, their teenage daughters, are dancing in like it's like what's that one movie with the
Mean Girls?
Mean Girls, yeah. They're dancing Mean Girl style.
Oh,
Almost I
okay.
think in a reference to it. But their like faces are hidden, and then like they're in a very sexy revealing clothing, and then when they turn around, and of course Danny DeVito and Matthew Broderick were like doing some whooping and hollering, and when they turn around, it's just like it just freeze frame on them, and then
I know
hard
what you're
cut
talking about,
to
yeah.
them at a church, and they're like washing their eyes with holy water. I thought that was funny.
That
That's
was a
the
good
only
joke, yeah.
redeeming part of Deck the Halls. Christmas with the Cranks, I don't think I actually ever saw. I thought I did see it, but like I don't think I ever did. I just think the reason why I think I do is because it's Tim Allen from the Santa Claus and Jamie Lee Curtis from Jingle All the Way.
Yeah.
That's why I think I've seen this, but I haven't. Yeah, it doesn't look very good.
No, it is. Steve hates this movie. Bring it up to him next time he's here. Like maybe when we start the Avatar review, we'll be like, wait, Steve, real quick. What do you enjoy most about Christmas with the Cranks? And he'll go on a whole tangent about it. But anyways, man, I'm ready to pass it off to you for your number three.
Yes, my number three worst. I'm being real loose with this. So my number three worst Christmas movie ever is Home Alone's 3 through 6. Okay. So you see, I'm assuming you have this on the screen.
Yeah.
You have three posters before you. One of these posters is a real Home Alone movie. Can you guess which one it is?
It's Home Alone 3 coming soon with like the guy going, eh? Like,
Are you sure?
I'm hoping it is. Like, otherwise, if Home Alone Road to Forgiveness is a real movie, I've been missing out.
Bro, you're right. It is Home Alone 3.
Oh, okay, thank
But the
God.
other two actually look like movies I want to watch. Cause like, bro,
Stoned Alone.
the first one looks so freaking good.
Yeah.
I think that first one is actually from a Reddit post. Um, if you just look up Home Alone fake movie poster, oh, you'll find that. I didn't think I'd find anything, but I found some good stuff.
Yeah.
Some dude like in a Reddit post just wrote the whole plot line to that movie, and it's like it goes real dark. It's like, oh yeah, Macaulay Culkin's like a or like Kevin McAllister is a drug addict and stuff, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh Jesus. But in any case, yeah, dude, Home Alone's 3 through 6. Like, could you imagine that there were six that there are as of 2021? 2021, there are 6 Home Alone movies. The latest one is on Disney Plus,
Yeah.
starring the kid from
Jojo
JoJo,
Rabbit.
the best friend from Jojo Rabbit.
Yeah.
I have not seen it. I can't. I actually okay. In all fairness, I can't include 6 in fairness because I
I'll
haven't
throw it
seen
on
it.
there for you because that movie does suck.
Okay, you have seen it.
Yeah.
Okay, I figured it did because the ratings were so bad. I was like, okay, this is probably not for me. Um, but at least that actor is good.
In fact, you know what? You're reminding me of that movie. It honestly did not come to my mind because when I was looking up Christmas movies today, it didn't pop up. Um, but like now I think about it, all right, for those of you who are Christmas with the crank stands, I'll kick that one out and put Home Alone 6 in there. But go on.
Three Home Alone's 3 and 4. I have watched. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
I can't tell them apart. They are purely like osmosis into one another. And it's like you really did try to copy those templates. If you actually were to look up, don't waste your time, but if you were to look up the posters for 3 and 4, it's literally just them trying to recreate the poster to
Yeah.
one. And it gets sadder every time. So yeah, dude, these they're not just nothing worth about them at all. And it's really unfortunate. But yeah, and in fact, is this the one? Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say it's not this one, but I don't care about. I didn't even bother putting in the directors, and I don't think you did
No,
care either. So
you were just if when people saw it, it's like where to stream. Do you really care? Like,
yeah, exactly. So yeah,
man.
dude, it's at this point, Home Alone. People have argued that so Stoned Alone was actually a small internet meme for like a week where it's like, oh, are they actually it's a hoax.
Oh,
This
okay.
was just a fan mock-up. But I was like, that actually could be the one in the middle could actually be a cool
It could,
concept.
yeah.
People are saying it could taint the kind of the purity of the first one, and I'm like, I
At this
if this was
point,
real if this was released like 5 or 6 years after, within 10 years, let's say, actually, you might have a point. But now the whole series has been tainted, I would say, since the second one, but
yeah,
the whole series has been tainted in 6 movies where it's like, go for broke. You've already like nothing matters anymore. So, because like you've diluted this so much. I am also someone who can completely forget
yeah,
about other bad movies in a franchise and just like, oh yeah, you know what, Godfather's 1 and 2, I can just imagine those are the only ones that exist, although I do like part 3. But so I don't really care, so it's like, oh, you shouldn't make this because it's like you're ruining the first one. It's like whatever, but
yeah.
but in any case, I'll stop there. But yeah, dude, Home Alone, it's a sad future, so just embrace it in a Gen Z way. Go for it. Doomer alone.
Oh my god. Anything else you want to add on to that?
No, no, man, I'm good.
All right, well, we're moving on to my number 2 best, which, if you look at the image that I have on screen right now, there are 4 characters from 4 different movies. And to give you a hint, one of these characters is in the movie that you're about to see. I'm going to give you 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. If you guess Bill Murray in Scrooge, you're wrong. It's National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. This was the
Oh,
movie I was kind of hinting at when talking about Christmas with the Cranks, that I feel like those kind of movies want to be this movie so bad, but they just don't have the writing talent for it, or they just don't spend enough time doing it. It sucks because stuff like Deck the Halls, Christmas with the Cranks, all of these movies, hell, Four Holidays, what other holidays with Vince Vaughn and Anna Faris, they have the talent. It's just, man, they just don't write that well for these movies, or they're just not directed that well. This, I mean, look, the normal vacation movie, the first one, that to me is amazing. This is the only sequel I actually really like from that franchise. I think it really embraces the Christmas theme very well. I think this is Chevy Chase's best performance as the character. Even better than the first one. He's funnier in the first movie, but playing a character actually here, I think this is where he does it the best. Way better than European, way better than Vegas, and way better than the spin-off film with Ed Helms. This movie to me, like I said, like every movie since then that's been trying to do like, like these like raunchy PG-13 comedies around Christmas where people at each other's throat and everything, like, this movie does it the best. I think it perfectly encapsulates everything you hate when your in-laws got to come over for the holidays. I think it does it so damn good with the cast they have here. Everybody here is giving it their all. It's such a fun treat to watch, especially when you do have the family around. My family, we're at each other's throats almost every holiday. But this is a movie that we genuinely like always throw on in the background because it's just relatable. It's one of my favorite ones I grew up watching. I absolutely love watching it from time to time. It is my number 2 pick, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
How many vacation movies are there?
There's 4 main
There's like
ones, which is the first one. Then they go to Europe. Then there's this one, the Christmas one. Then they go to Vegas, and then they stopped, and then they did a spin-off one that's in the same universe with Ed Helms, and Chevy Chase is his dad.
Gotcha.
So there's 5.
So there's like 2 good ones out of all 5.
It's almost, we're almost at Home Alone numbers here.
Exactly. I was just about to make that point. Yeah.
Disney Plus will reboot it. They'll put it on there. It'll suck, and then we'll be talking about it next year for our best and worst of list for Christmas movies.
My God,
man! I know we're getting close to the intermission. Let me see. We got 5 minutes. Do you think you could do your number 2 in 5 minutes?
Yes, actually.
Okay.
All right. My number 2 is, you ready? It is A Christmas Story, directed by Bob Clark and available on some random channel playing it 24. Sorry, not 24/7, but rather I misspelled that. It's for a whole 24 hours. It will play on a loop. I have never seen A Christmas Story, front to back, sitting down. I have only ever seen it over a period. I think I've finally seen it in its entirety after like 15 years of life, because it is just one of those movies that is always on. Now you're actually looking at stills from the sequel, My Summer Story.
I was gonna say, what the hell is this?
So fun fact about A Christmas Story: it is actually based on a series of novels called I forgot the name of it, but it's the oh my God, the not Archie. Parker family, stories.
Okay.
And it's various of them. The most famous is easily A Christmas Story, to the point where it's known as A Christmas Story, series or whatever at this point as well. But yeah, dude, what I do like about A Christmas Story, I'm just trolling with My Summer Story, but A Christmas Story, what I do appreciate about, I've always enjoyed it, is that it actually perfectly encapsulates what it is like to think like a kid, or at least this kind of kid, which is me.
Yeah.
This is like everyone's first, oh, that's me kind of movie. It's like before Driver, before this and I forget the
just
yeah,
any
Blade Runner,
any Ryan Gosling movie.
any Ryan Gosling movie before that. You look at A Christmas Story and be like, yeah, man, that's me, because it's so spot on.
It is.
I am a daydreamer 100%, both as a child, as a teen, as an adult. I'm a total daydreamer, and I have these fantasies in my, more so as a kid, but more so as a kid, like I was having these fantasies all the time where I was like, yeah, that's right, you punished me. I never got soap in my mouth, but if I got something like that, it's like, yeah, dude, if you're gonna punish me with soap in my mouth, then I'm just gonna go blind because of soap in my mouth, and you're gonna feel so bad. I was like, that's such a kid thing.
It is.
That is 1,000% a kid thing, because I totally did that all the freaking time. Every single one of Ralphie's scenarios, I have mirrored independently without even watching this movie, I think, or maybe it was subconscious, but it's like, no, you spot on nailed it. That is amazing. Congrats to Gene Shepard, Leigh Brown, and Bob Clark, the screenplay people here, and I guess the original author of those books. I think they're autobiographical or maybe it's fictional. I forget. But still, dude, it perfectly encapsulates what it is like to think like a kid. And the piecemeal nature of it all
Yeah,
is cool. A lot of Christmas stories, are kind of Christmas movies they're in. I think I don't know the full history of Christmas movies and all that, but I think they get their piecemeal nature from A Christmas Story. I think. I don't want to say that definitively, but it certainly feels like that because
yeah,
like Wonderful Life, A Miracle on this and that. I think all the other movies before that are more narrative connected. This is way more piecemeal,
yeah.
and I think every other movie tries to emulate that. This was 1983 as this was released, so
Yes.
that's early on. Um, yeah, it was originally based on the book Wanda Hickey's Night of Golden Memories and Other Disasters. And I think that book was piecemeal, very like episodic, very
Yeah.
what do you call it? It's like Twilight Zone,
I mean, episodic.
vignettes or
Yeah,
something like that.
vignettes. Oh
Yeah, you
yeah,
know
I
what
was
I'm
gonna say
saying?
yeah. Like you're looking into a photo album of events and whatnot.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
And it's a very fun story as anyone can tell you.
Yeah, man. I mean, anytime it is on, when it's on TBS for 24 hours on Christmas Eve, I will tune into it just to watch a little bit because it is that damn good of a movie that, like,
20 minutes at a time every year.
yep, it's too damn
No
good
more,
not
no
to
less.
pass up. We're gonna take a short break, but when we come back, Dom and I will give our number 2 worst, and then we'll get to our number 1 picks for both categories. Keep it right here on Sleepless with Steve. Back and better than ever. That just does not sound right coming out of my mouth. We're
No, it
live at
doesn't.
Sleepless with Steve, talking about our best and worst of Christmas movies. And like I said, going into now my number 2 worst. Again, I don't necessarily think this is a terrible movie. I just don't like it. I think it is bad. But I know there's some people out there that might actually love this. That's the thing with Christmas movies, is that someone out there really does love this movie because it's Christmas themed and they probably watched it around Christmas with their family and it means a lot to them. So that's why I'm always like, while I'm saying this is the worst, again, it's not necessarily like a terrible movie, one of the worst films I've ever seen. But let's get going here. My number 2 worst of movie. It's a movie that ever since Elf came out, I feel like these kinds of movies have been trying to emulate what Elf did. Let me just make sure real quick. I believe, yeah, Elf came out in 2003, and I believe this movie came out in 2004 or 2005, and studios were just trying to replicate that. They saw the success of taking someone, SNL alum or comedians type of person like Will Ferrell, putting him into a scenario like that, and how much it just worked. My number 2 is Fred Claus with Vince Vaughn.
Oh boy.
um, Man, I remember going to see this as a kid in theaters and just walking out thinking like, wow, that was actually really, really bad. Paul Giamatti as Santa Claus is probably the highlight here. I think he's a great Santa Claus. I would love to see him play Santa Claus again sometime in the future because Paul Giamatti is just that good. But this movie is literally just taking the formula that Elf did, but in reverse. Rather than a character
Yeah.
going from the North Pole going to the real world, a character from our world is going to the North Pole, and that is Vince Vaughn's character, Fred Claus. He's Santa Claus's brother, and they straight right just steal gags from Elf, like this scene where he's sleeping on the top bunk, and the bunk is bigger because elves are small, and he's a human size, just like Will Ferrell was, and everything. There's so many jokes like that throughout this movie. But it just doesn't have the charm that Elf does. I don't know if it was Jon Favreau that brought it. I don't know if it's Will Ferrell's kid energy that he has to him. But
It's both. It's easily both.
it's got to be both, man, because there wasn't any like directing like craft here. And Vince Vaughn, I mean, dude, like the guy is like, I love Vince Vaughn. Don't get me wrong, Chicago native, everything. He's great in some movies.
Well,
Dodgeball.
when he's going full cylinder, he can go.
Yeah, Dodgeball, he's amazing. His more recent dramatic roles, like the Beatdown in Cell Block, whatever it's called, that's a movie that Steve loves as well. That probably no one's ever heard of. But he's great in that. The short time he's not even short time, but the time he's in Hacksaw Ridge, he's amazing in
Yeah.
that movie. I think Vince Vaughn is a good actor, man. I thought even True Detective season 2, I thought he was one of the highlights of that. Of even though it was a weak season, I thought he was one of the better parts of it. But here, I mean, it's literally the setup of I don't know, It's just like he does that expression where hands go out, he's insulted by something, hands go in. What do you mean I did something wrong? Hands go out, I'm insulted by something. It's just Vince Vaughn doing that over and over again that he's seen in like plenty of other of his in plenty of
Joe, it's
other
funny.
comedies.
It's
No, it's
funny
not.
because he's confused. The confusion is the joke. And if you do that two times, do that a bunch of times for 2 hours, then you have a funny movie.
No,
God,
no.
God.
Side note, another thing about this movie is it gave us Elizabeth Banks. This is a positive. It gave us Elizabeth Banks to start her directorial career, which I can't wait to see Cocaine Bear next year.
That was
And
her first movie.
well, no. Like this is the movie that made her direct something because unfortunately this did work on me as a kid because I thought this chick was hot as hell when I was in theaters. But she plays an elf with really big boobs. That's literally her character. And it eventually went on. Like there's an interview she did on who's that British talk show host? Stephen Graham.
Graham Norton.
Graham Norton, totally different guy named. But while she was doing her press tour for a movie that I didn't think was that good, but you know, I'm glad that she's getting her directorial in, and I actually think as a director she's okay. Elizabeth Banks reveals that getting cast as an elf with big breasts made her turn to directing as she continues to promote Charlie's Angels.
Oh my God.
Box office flop. And basically just saying like, you know, when I was putting in the padding for my breasts for these scenes, I kind of realized I deserve better than this, and I can do better than this. And eventually went off to go direct stuff like Pitch Perfect 2 and other movies as well, which, again, cannot wait for Cocaine Bear. I think that movie's going to be hella fun. So if there's two positives we got, Paul Giamatti as Santa Claus, and it started Elizabeth Banks' directorial career, which some of you may be like, well, that brought Charlie's Angels, but hey, we're getting Cocaine Bear, and I hope it's just as good as it looks. But that is my number 2 worst of Fred Claus.
All right, my number two worst, right? That's where we're at.
Yep.
Is The Santa Claus 2, directed by the director who did Friends' Super Bowl episode. The highest rated Friends episode in its entire career was the post Super Bowl. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's directed by Michael Lembeck, who, most Super Bowl, post Super Bowl shows, or like shows right after, you know, the big game, is do very poorly. And usually that's when they try to launch a new pilot.
Yeah.
100%, but it always fails. It's like, if we keep doing this, it'll work, right? No, it really doesn't. I think Family Guy is also another one. It wasn't launched, but they did have a post Super Bowl episode, and it's like, this works better when you just take something established. And it did work because that wound up being Friends' number 1 or highest rated episode.
Is it the one?
The episode itself is kind of
everybody finds out. Is that it?
No, I think that's the one, maybe, but it's the one with a lot of guest stars, and I think it's like the Super Bowl is part of the plot.
Oh, okay. All right, go on. Sorry.
But in any case, that's about half of what I talk about with what I want to talk about with the Santa Claus 2, because it's just not good. This was released in 2002. I should have put the year. This was released in 2002, and it's the most 2002 movie ever. Because it's like Tim Allen on the decline. You've got CG reindeer that look horrifying.
They look terrible. Oh my God.
Farts. There's a lot of fart jokes with these reindeer, I think. I don't remember too much. I just remember seeing clips on YouTube, and it's like, yeah, they fart a lot. I do remember, look up Santa Claus 2 DVD game. Do you remember there being DVD games on there being like interactive games on DVDs?
One of the ones
that you would.
I'm sorry. One of the ones I remember is Shrek 2. They had a like American Idol like mini game you could play where you are a judge for American Idol.
Oh, see, that sounds awesome, actually.
Yeah.
But this one was not good. It was very bad.
Operation
I think my dad
Toy
was
Box,
tired.
Save Santa Claus the game.
Yeah, it's not good. Because the controls were weak as shit. They were horrible controls. Because it's a DVD remote. Um, and it's very generic.
Yeah.
I don't think Tim Allen shows up once. But yeah, dude, this movie sucks, and I do not hold hope for the new Santa Claus movie. The first one was a little charming. I think I don't remember much. I'm just Tim Allen out. I do enjoy Home Improvement. I think that is a good show.
Yeah.
There's a lot of it I hold close to my heart, even just nostalgia wise. But not much with Tim Allen after that, and that's not even getting into his politics or his stand up recent. I don't want to get into that, but just more like I don't think he's been good post Home Improvement. Maybe who's to say? All I know is that Tim Allen was on my driver's ed video that I was shown in 2010. So yeah, that was a time when Tim Allen was in the zeitgeist. So watch this movie or don't watch this movie, but don't blame me if you don't like the fart jokes.
Oh man. All right. That all you want to add on? I know you're Tim
I'm
Allen
good,
out.
bro.
Anyways, all right, we're moving on to our number ones for both categories. My number one best, and I truly mean best here, because this is not only I think one of the best Christmas movies, if you want to classify it as that, but I think it's just one of my favorite movies of all time in general. I absolutely love this movie to death. I love the franchise a ton. Not all of its sequels are that great, but two of them are, or at least two of the installments are very good. My number one is Die Hard.
Of course.
I know, it's debated every year by people. Is this a Christmas movie? I don't give a shit. It takes place during Christmas, and there's a guy that gets killed, and he writes, "Ho, ho, ho, now I have a machine gun." He puts a little Santa Claus hat on them. It's a Christmas movie, then. Dude, this is one of the best, like, action films for me in general. I think this is Bruce Willis's best action movie or franchise as he's ever been in. I think McClane is the best character he's played. He's just a fun hero to hang out with because he is just a guy. He's just, hey, I'm a cop, I'm whatever, I'm just trying to do, like, what's good in my life, try to get back with my wife, and I'm thrown into this very unfortunate scenario. So many action movies try to copy this formula. We have Dwayne Johnson, like, fucking movies that pick up this formula all the time and try to adapt it. We literally just watched Violent Night, which is basically taking both like the Santa Claus movies elements of like the magical side of Santa Claus and then the violent stuff with that people associate Die Hard with. This movie, I mean, it's just iconic. I mean, who doesn't forget like the shot with him in the vents just crawling around with a lighter. One of the things I love about this action movie, and it's with this franchise as a whole until they got to their most recent installment, is I love seeing the fact that McClane gets messed up by the end of this movie. He's bleeding, his feet are cut up, he's got bruises, his face is beat into a pulp. We don't really see that with too many action heroes, and it just makes him feel that more real and just a normal guy. He's not special forces. He's just getting very, very lucky at every turn. He's either just outwitting the enemy or just getting like so lucky that he just did not get shot. And of course, Alan Rickman as Hans
Yep.
Gruber, one of the best movie villains. Like right next to Jeremy Irons, for me, where he plays his brother in the third movie. The guy killed it in this movie. He has one of the best movie deaths too, where he falls off of Nakatomi Plaza to his death. It's so good. I have the ornament of it where it's him falling down as the days of Christmas are going by. I absolutely love this movie. It's something I always watch every year. I just think it's such a great popcorn film and something great to watch around the holidays. I love all the supporting characters. All of them have such heart and you care about them. Die Hard is my number one pick.
Yeah, honestly, when Hans Gruber is pretends to be a hostage, when it's him and John
Yeah.
alone, it's like
And they're having like
that
a
blew my
cigarette.
mind.
Yeah, that's
That
such a
blew my mind
great
as a kid. It's
scene.
like, this is so smart. Why? Yeah, that's so damn smart. And he gets it right away. There's so much telling instead of showing, and how it plays out. How the acting is awesome. The tension is palpable. That is awesome.
Yeah.
And I'll honestly never. It's one of my favorite villain moments ever. Smartest plays, top anime plays by villains. Hans Gruber, anime villain. But yeah, there's not much else to say. It's freaking Die Hard, dude.
Yeah.
All right, my number one best, my favorite Christmas movie of all time. It's not even a tradition for me. I actually don't watch this movie that often, but I did watch it often as a freaking kid, and I do find it really, really fun. It is Jingle All the Way,
Oh
and
hell yeah, dude!
and Sinbad. So I looked at the Wikipedia for this, and this movie is actually regarded actually
What?
quite
Yeah,
poorly.
this is considered to some people one of the worst Christmas movies, and I disagree with that.
It's on like worst lists, not like in the top five. I think like top like number nine I've seen on the 25 top worst or 25 worst,
Yeah.
and it's like I don't get maybe the 20s, but like, dude, this movie kicks ass. I love this. I forget if this was pre or post Kindergarten Cop. If it's post Kindergarten Cop, I can understand that context then, because it might be derivative. But no, dude, this is like Kindergarten Cop esque Schwarzenegger, just putting on great comedic chops because it's like when you think about it, we were inundated with it in the 90s and the
It is
2000s,
post.
but
It
now
is
that
post.
we've been removed. It's like, okay, it is post, yeah. It's like, no, dude, that Austrian accent is hilarious. It is so good in a comedic setting, and Sinbad is slept on. Maybe he's more. I think he's more fondly remembered in the black community because he as a famous black comedian, and then he just fell off. But it's like, yeah, dude, these two are hitting it, and it is so damn funny. And the cop who chases them, maybe not Patrick Stewart, but the cop that chases them in here is funny too, and just the plot is so straightforward because I'm not a big gift giver, so I relate to it heavily for getting gifts all the time. And I don't know, it's just it's so perfect, not in the way that it's like this is a perfectly constructed movie objectively, but for me it's like this is the quintessential Christmas movie.
Yeah.
It's relatable on a family level. It's not that dramatic. It's like, oh, here's an oopsie, I forgot to get a toy for my kid. The stakes are low, the slapstick is high, and there's a tinge of anti-consumerism there too,
There is. Yeah.
on a macro level, where it's like, yeah, no, this is kind of disgusting how we're killing each other. These two, a down on his like postal worker and this other dude, every man, is like fighting to the death seemingly over this plastic thing to make their kids happy. It's like, that's ridiculous. I also forget how hard this movie goes too. There's like an underground Santa ring.
Yeah, that's my favorite scene.
There's a bomb scene.
Yeah.
There's a bomb
They
scene
make fun of
where
the
it's like,
Unabomber.
yeah, it's like I think that was like around when the Unabomber was,
Yeah.
and it's like, yeah, dude, it's like I have a bomb, and it's like, oh yeah, yeah, sure he does, and it's like, oh shit, that was a bomb. Wow, okay. And it's like the implication is that this is enough to just like a level a whole building, a whole floor of a building, but it's just played for laughs where it's like just smoke in the dude's face.
Yeah.
And all the other cops around the cop is like fine. And it's like, no, dude, you'd be nothing right. You'd be missed right now. I don't know. Yeah, dude, this movie just hits for me. It's perfectly paced in my eyes. It's got a good dark like streak in it, an anti-consumerist, kind of a biting edge to it, and it's two actors at the top of their comedic game, for me, family comedic game,
Yeah.
just hitting it. So, and Jamie Lee Curtis, this is the superior Jamie Lee Curtis. Not that I don't think she's prominently featured in it, but this is the superior Jamie Lee Curtis Christmas movie. So yeah, dude, Jingle all the way up on my list here, number one for me.
I love the character Ted, who's trying to get with Arnold Schwarzenegger's wife the entire movie, and
Yeah, just simping Ted over here
yeah.
trying. I mean, granted, I would simp for Jamie Lee Curtis as well, but like just that's completely unnecessary to the plot, except to emasculate Schwarzenegger. Which, to be fair, 90 Schwarzenegger still. You need to emasculate him to bring him down to your power level.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, dude, it's kind of unnecessary.
God.
Oh,
It's
so
like one of
good.
my
I love
favorite,
that.
like,
I
parts.
love this movie, dude. I watched it like a billion times as a
I
kid.
remember seeing like around the time I started watching like internet reviews, there was like people just saying like when they would give like the worst Christmas movies of all time, and this was always one
I
of
don't
them.
get it.
And I watched it. I'm like, I actually thought that was kind of funny. Like I actually
Yeah.
enjoyed that. But whatever.
If you don't like this movie, I if it's like number one, two, or three on your worst list, I actually think you haven't watched this movie or haven't watched it in like over a decade and you're misremembering it. If it's like
I think it's
if
gotten
it's
better
like
with time, especially with how consumerism
me
has
too,
gotten.
100%,
Yeah.
100%. If it's like in your top 20 or 10 worst, it's like okay, sure, fine. But like top three, I don't get it. I don't get it.
All right. Well, let's move on to the whole time I've been saying I don't think these movies are bad. I don't think these movies are necessarily terrible. This one I do. This one, this one I got a bone to pick. I gotta get with the mic here. On Sleepless with Steve, we've had a
Oh shit.
notorious time with the Catholic community, faith-based movie community. I should actually say, not
Oh
really
no.
Catholics.
Oh no.
Um, I did not go see God's Not Dead Part 4 or 5, whatever the hell we're on now. Um, because, I just didn't have time. And if I did go that night, oddly enough, and I really wish I did in retrospect, if I would have gone the night, the showtime in the theater I picked was going to be the same exact one as you, Dom. And I really wish I was there to experience what you experienced that night. Just so that way you at least felt a little bit safe. You have a white person with you. But number one, we were talking about anti-consumerism, but this movie is pro-consumerism in some ways. My number one worst of movie, and I think it's not even liked by most faith-based moviegoers, is Kirk Cameron's Saving Christmas. I hate this movie, man. This movie is bad. I try not to be too negative about movies lately because I just, kind of feel like the internet has gotten out of control with how negative
Agree.
movies.
Agree. And I know we're saying that as I rail on Santa Claus 2 and stuff. I'm doing it kind of jovially. I don't really hate these movies, but this one, it probably would be my number. It's not my number one. It would be number one if I had seen it, but it's like I don't want to waste any of my time with this after seeing God's Not Dead, so I'm good.
Well, if you want to see it, it's on Freeform. And this movie, I mean, it's lazy. It is just pure laziness. This movie was made with $500,000 at its budget, and it shows. And even then, I mean, it's just a waste of time. All it is Kirk Cameron attends his family function, Christmas holiday party, and one of the people there is just like, man, no one remembers that Christ is actually the reason why we celebrate this holiday. Everybody's all about consumerism and everything. And rather than actually kind of talking about a fair point that's within this faith community that, like, yeah, Christ really isn't really a part of Christmas anymore, Kirk Cameron instead focuses on, well, here's why Christmas and pro-consumerism is good for the Catholic religion, focusing on things like the presents underneath the tree. The presents underneath the trees, Dom, represent New Jerusalem. It's a skyline, looking how pretty they are stacked underneath the tree. It's like looking at a skyline of New Jerusalem, and at the center is a tree made of wood, like the cross that we use for Jesus, and all this. I mean, it is like, dude, you're pulling this shit out of your ass, man. And there are flashbacks to like the BC era, to where it's just like, and why we should celebrate Saint Nick is because he went to he went to like a pub back in like the BC era. I know pubs didn't exist back then, but I can't really think of like
An
anything.
inn.
An inn.
Yeah.
There we go. That's a better way of putting it. He went to an inn and savagely beat a man for speaking out to Jesus Christ, and they show that in the movie, and it's just like they're playing like heavy metal music while he's beating him up and everything. This movie's insane. It's insanely stupid and bad. But the worst offense, I'll let you go on with anything you want to ask. The worst offense, this probably wouldn't be my number one if it wasn't for the last 10 minutes of this movie, because they're wrapping up everything on why we should have Christ in Christmas, but this movie ends with a 6-minute dance sequence with the God Squad, who is this like touring group that goes around like churches and dances hip hop to them. And there's two minority characters in this movie, and the entire time they sit in the corner of the movie talking about conspiracy theories relating to the holiday and all this other stuff. And they use like hashtag. They're like, yeah, hashtag bless. One of them, who is Puerto Rican, constantly, he does that the entire time while the black one raps, or it might have it reversed. I don't know. And during this whole dance sequence, one of them's the DJ in the back, and the other one's beatboxing to the music and like pointing to the audience and going like this and mouthing the lyrics. And then it cuts to their family dinner, which goes on for 5 minutes, and it's like, I don't know any of these characters, nor do I like the people that I know. I want to leave the family dinner. This movie is terrible. It is awful. I don't even think faith-based moviegoers like this movie. I think it's regarded as like one that just totally missed the mark with their demographic. It is the worst Christmas movie I have ever seen.
As a Catholic school survivor, do you know who would be going up to in ancient times, and in Jesus times, going up to some dude and flipping his table? Jesus Christ himself.
Yeah.
There's a passage in the Bible where directly all these merchants,
he loses his shit.
all these freaking bougie ass merchants, you take over the temple and like and like turn it into a shopping center.
Yep.
A market, a flea market, and it's like, no, hell no, and then starts flipping over tables. Jesus Christ himself in the Bible flips over tables on these merchants in this anti-consumerist, but also more important to the Bible thing is like, you're desecrating my temple. You're desecrating the whole meaning of this. So it's like, even within his logic, it does not work at all. It does not work at all. And it's like, yeah, I don't hate on movies often, but maliciously ignorant, maliciously like aggressively ignorant movies that try to push an aggressively like politically ignorant message. If it didn't even have that, I haven't seen it, but again, if it didn't have that consumer streak, I would be okay. I would just let by, hey, you know what, this is kind of a meh movie, forgettable, guy trying to wean his family off of Christmas stuff and towards Christ. I'm pretty sure that's like every Hallmark movie, right?
Yeah, basically.
Hey, kudos to you. I actually agree with you. It's like, yeah, this I will concede. I've always conceded that Christmas is, well, first of all, it was a pagan holiday, but beyond that, in the past 300 years, it has become a Christian holiday.
Yeah.
No one's taking that away from you. No one, right? Just maybe let other people not celebrate it as a Christian holiday. You can do your thing, but we won't. And when we don't, Kirk Cameron wants to punch you in the face. Yeah. That's what he's living his fantasy through, as you're telling me here.
Yeah, it's awful. I mean, the guy like,
I want to live my fantasy of flipping over tables at Macy's, but I don't because I have respect for other people.
He's
and also the police.
He's he's a character, that Kirk Cameron. He's banned from bookstores because he wrote a children's book about like why we shouldn't protect trans kids and stuff like that and whatnot. And he wanted to go and read it to children and present it to them, and like why, like, he wanted to get in. Like, he's just like, I don't understand, why am I being
Wait,
banned?
they banned books? They banned Kirk Cameron's books? Oh, Christians are the real persecuted ones.
Yep,
come on,
there we go.
Get with it.
Anyways, Dom, what is your number one?
My number one worst Christmas movie of all time is the Star Wars Holiday Special, directed by the guy who directed Elvis's 68 comeback special.
Oh my God.
I'm not kidding. This is the same guy, Steve Binder. He was in the Elvis movie just recently. Yeah. Not the real guy, but he was played by, in that movie. He also Steve Binder. I'm just going to rep Steve Binder here. Legit. He directed The Tammy Show, which is a very famous concert. He did a whole bunch of concerts. Diana Ross's Live in Central Park, the famous one where she got interrupted by the rainstorm. Tammy Show, with a whole bunch of artists, but most famously James Brown, doing some iconic sets. It's on, all of these I think are on YouTube, and they're all great.
Yeah.
Comedy specials as well. Steve Binder is a legit legend. He was, however, brought in to do the Star Wars Holiday Special when George Lucas's original chosen director backed out because of course, studio reasons, and rightfully so, because this was a mess. Yeah, the Star Wars Holiday Special was for a long time, before YouTube, a famous piece of underground cinema.
Yeah,
and rightfully so, because
did George Lucas like want people to like destroy it if they owned it or something?
Maybe maybe it's another movie, but I wouldn't be surprised, because it's like, if I were George Lucas, if I were these studios, yeah, no, I would not re-release this. This is legitimately horrible. This is really, really bad. Not this movie is not as malicious. It's no way malicious as Kirk Cameron's masterpiece here. But this is just regular bad, and it's like this really is like an hour plus of a Wookiee family, so they have to like get in. It's like Phantom Menace's problem, where it's like, okay, we have a character and we have a species of beings. We kind of have to go into them for like 15 to 20 minutes to explore their side of things, as opposed to just letting them be an alien of millions of species of aliens, sentient aliens in this world. No, 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 no. We got to go hard on these dudes. And yeah, that's kind of what they do here with the Wookiees. I was always neutral on Chewbacca. It's like, okay, yeah, he's a fun character for what he is and what he does in the story. Nah, dude, all in on Chewbacca, baby. Hell yeah, all in on the Wookiees. It does not play out very well because it's George Lucas. He totally sticks to his universe, so it is just like Chewbacca noises for over an
Dude.
hour. There's a weird sequence where a black soul singer like the uncle Wookiee in the family puts on like porn goggles, like porn VR, and it's like, but of course they couldn't show that, so they did like a singer like doing a sexy song, or at least a sensual
Oh yeah,
song.
yeah, I remember the grandpa's like wearing like the VR goggles.
Yeah, it's essentially like VR adult entertainment, but as risque as you can get on TV in the 70s.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, dude, this is weird. It is weird. You will get bored by it. Um, I will say this: redeeming quality, which may even disqualify this in the worst list for some people. Redeeming quality for this is that it is worth at least one watch in terms of the fascination of it. It's like, I think you should watch this once on YouTube. It's definitely there, and it's like, because damn, dude, this is what TV was kind of like for a lot of people, like pre the 2000s. I'll even say TV was on the whole not that good. Now, granted, this is the worst of the worst, so I'll give them that, but it's improved drastically, or at
Just
least the way we can access it in and out. There's so much that has been said and that can be said about the holiday special. Even like Boba Fett doesn't. The animated portion
yeah, the
is
anime
actually
segment,
pretty
yeah.
pretty solid, I will say. And the first appearance of Boba Fett, as we all know, all Star Wars nerds know, that was his first appearance, and it's like, yeah, sure, whatever. But on the whole, this is like, I really put myself in the seat of like, if I was a kid or a teenager or even young adult who watched the original Star Wars, and then it's like, dude, they're doing a holiday special. I am hype because we don't even know if they're gonna do a Star Wars 2.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do. I think maybe my timeline is wrong there, but it's like, yeah, we don't even know. So we're gonna get a holiday special. Hell yeah! And then you watch this, I would be so disappointed. I would legitimately be crushed. Like the smiling muscles would evaporate from my face if
Yeah.
I had seen this live as a kid, as a teenager, as a Star Wars fan. It would be bad, and I can imagine like if you watch this as a Star Wars non-believer, it's like you would stay an unbeliever because this is so geeky. It's so cringe and nerdy. And it's like a various shorts of people geologists, people like, it's various shorts of like people trying to stay within the Star Wars world, but they don't have the means to do it in a cool way because sci-fi on a TV movie level hasn't quite gotten there yet. I mean, don't get me wrong, sci-fi has always been percolating in motion picture form, but in terms of like making it more accessible, even cooler, in a way that can be consumed in TV, it just was not there yet. Was not there at all, and you can clearly see it there. Meanwhile, Andor is doing great in that aspect, where it's like, watch Andor. Don't I mean, watch this for fun. If you, I highly suggest you do. But yeah, dude, Joe, what are your thoughts on this? Have you
I
ever seen the
no,
holiday
no, no.
special?
Just like what you said with Kirk Cameron. Like I've either seen clips of this or known about it. The only thing I've seen like was the animated segment. Other than that, I mean,
Right.
I've seen like people review it, and I've seen people, I've seen like yeah, just clips of it online and everything.
It's
Um,
boring. It
no,
is
I've
largely
heard it's
boring.
just a terrible like special. I like it's the thing that made James Gunn go like, oh yeah, like no matter what I do, I ain't gonna be that. And like yeah,
Right.
the Guardians thing doesn't even come close to that. It's leagues ahead of that. Um, but what was I gonna say? If I would have watched it, that probably would have been number two, maybe number one. I don't know. But I didn't, so I felt like it wasn't fair to put that on. But that's a good one to have on there. That is a terrible fucking Christmas.
1978, and Star Wars came out in 77.
Oh man.
The first Star Wars came out in May of 77, and then Star Wars Holiday Special, um, November of 78. So imagine waiting a whole year for this thing, or maybe not I don't know when it was announced, but yeah, dude. Now we're like in a glut of Star Wars stuff where I can pick and choose novels, games, whatever.
Yeah.
It's a good time. It is. I know the sequels are a taint on the whole thing, and they absolutely are. They are like Star Wars Episode 9 is legitimately horrible cinema. Um, I'm a little more lenient on 7 and even 8, but 9 is horrible. But yeah, dude, it's
I'll even
still
say
a
this.
good.
I legit like 7, 8, and Rogue One. I legit like those movies,
Oh, Rogue
but
One's
I
great.
don't like Solo, and I do not like Episode 9 at all.
The score to Solo was awesome.
It
The
was, yeah.
score to Solo was awesome. Lando's Closet. That's a piece of that's one song from there that's really good. But anyway, yeah, dude. If you're thinking like now, if you're like someone who consumes a lot of YouTube, um, online reviews, and it's like, yeah, dude, Star Wars sucks. It's in the worst it's ever been. Kathleen Kennedy, who rightfully so, Kathleen Kennedy is bad for Star Wars. But like, if you're someone who's like, oh, I hate all these, Mary Sue, it's all consumerist, whatever. Dude, go back to 1978.
It's not
It,
that
it
bad.
was horrible. The prequels are actually pretty bad.
They are.
Don't get it twisted, dude. The prequels are also bad.
This is about to
Now is the
become the
best
Star
time.
Wars special because I'm about to go on a rant, but I'm gonna let you keep going. I'm gonna reserve my comments.
My last point is, if you think Star Wars is bad now, which it actually does have really low moments, and I half agree with a lot of the critiques of modern Star Wars, 100%. But or like 50%, I should say. But it's like, dude, it's still good now. It's still good now to be a Star Wars fan compared to back then. You have so much to pick and choose from, and you have the look back of like, yeah, dude, at least you weren't a kid in 78. I'll stop there. Joe, what's your thoughts
About Star Wars in general.
about any? Yeah,
I mean, dude, I'm agreeing with you. Go watch Andor. It's the best thing they've done since they've acquired Star Wars. Not that I thought,
agree.
like, I like I said, I like 7. I love Rogue One, and I like Episode 8. But I think like Andor is just kind of like a different league at this point when it comes to just Star Wars. It is like, because yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, Star Wars is made for kids, which is why I've let shows like, I know people don't like the Obi-Wan show, but I thought it was all right. Like, I enjoy like half.
It's made for the young adventurous at heart. It's
Yeah,
got a
it's
light-hearted tone.
very
It's like Indiana
yeah.
Jones, right? And I know
It's
that came after, but
it's
yeah,
very much a serial adventure. I like. There's 6
yes,
episodes
that's the
total
word.
of that show. I like half of those episodes. I like episodes 1, 3, and 6, which all involve the more darker side of Obi-Wan's story, while the second, fourth, and fifth episode kind of get a little bit more like lighthearted and everything. I thought like it's kind of just an unbalance of tones. I enjoy The Mandalorian. I think The Mandalorian is just a fun action adventure show.
Season 2 was getting a little iffy, but I still enjoyed it.
I still
The
enjoyed it
first
too.
season's
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah.
Yeah,
And then Book of Boba Fett, I could care less about. But Andor is
that was
something.
very. You're regressing here, very much so.
But Andor, and I understand that people are burnt out over Star Wars because we get so much of it now. But I'm telling y'all, if you haven't watched Andor, it's all out now. It's a great show to binge through. I think you'll even have a better experience binging through it because the only issue,
All the YouTubers are on the Andor train, and
yeah,
for once, not for once, a lot of them have been pretty good throughout this whole ordeal. But it's like, yeah, dude, everyone is on the same boat. It's like, yeah, Andor kicks ass.
yeah.
So I'm glad we are unifying around something that is genuinely good here.
It's done like look, Star Wars. Yeah, it is a kids' property. It's made for the young at heart and everything.
I wouldn't even
But
say kids.
But
I
dude,
I disagree with that. It's a more lighthearted adventure
sure.
at the absolute core of it.
It just felt good to finally get something drama based, drama driven, like dark.
This is what George Lucas thinks he made
Yeah.
when he wrote the script to episode
Like
one. I'm
I've
not joking. He really envisioned something like Andor.
I've always thought, I know we got 2 minutes left, so I'm gonna wrap this up real quick. I always thought, like, man, like the Empire, I always have these visions in my head of like how dark and twisted they can be, but we never visually seen it. Dude, Andor goes there with torturing, like they have their own like system of water torture. That shit was messed
Bro,
up. Like
so much of
uh
that messed up.
the prison scenes in that show
So
are
good.
amazing. I went to go, so I went to Austin for my birthday, Austin, Texas. I was watching those episodes on the plane. Dude, I almost shouted in the plane, "Yes!" Like that's how much I was like so invested. The only complaint I have with that show is that I do think pacing wise it could have been maybe 2, maybe 3 episodes shorter. But dude, look, even when like there was moments where it's just like, all right, this is moving a little bit slow. I was glad that we finally got moments just of that, like, you know, just slow, really like turning things out, talking about things in Star Wars, because we don't really get that anymore.
Last thing I'll
Go
say on
ahead, go
Star
ahead,
Wars
and
and
then we'll wrap
Andor,
it up.
because we will never have this chance again when Steve is on. Last thing I'll say is that politics absolutely does work in Star Wars.
Yes.
It's always been in Star Wars. The issue is that it was done poorly. I actually like the prequels for their politics on a removed scale. How it's actually implemented is dog shit. But yeah, dude, it's like, hey, the Senate. I want more Senate scenes. I'm not even joking. I want a full on like House of Cards Star Wars show. I'd be down for that.
I love
Hell
how
yeah.
they use the legacy character of Mon Mothma. Mon
Great.
Mothma.
So
Yeah.
good.
Anyways,
All
before
right.
we get cut off here,
Oh, Christmas.
yeah,
Yeah.
Christmas holiday special, not the Star Wars special, holiday special. Um, Thank you for tuning in. We hope you have a great holiday season. We'll see you in 2 weeks for the review of Avatar: The Way of Water. From here on YouTube, it's me, Joe Viso, and Dominic Guanzon. I don't know how he wraps this shit up. Have a great holiday season. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Have a good night.